Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Lawrence Watson Show. The brand new Lawrence Watson Show, no longer on Podomatic.com or Stitcher Radio. I'm getting a new hosting site. This one is YouTube, and maybe Patreon, if you all are so inclined to support me there.
Give us money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, give Lawrence money.
Yeah, this is an expensive proposition. I spent a whole $6 on these mics. Anyway, I'm back here with my panel from the lost episode, which you all never got to hear, and you never will hear, because I couldn't even hear it.
It's gone.
It's gone. Very gone. I'm here with my friend John.
Good evening.
My friend Jeff.
Yo.
And my friend Doug.
Howdy.
They're all brothers. I'm not related to any of them. Anyway, so a general idea of where we've been. I somehow managed to get myself a job. I know that's hard to believe, but I did manage to have a job for a while, so I was gainfully employed. However, I am now laid off from said job.
Or self-employed, possibly.
Well, I was self-employed for a while.
No, you're employed by the listeners.
Yeah. Send me money. Pay me.
No, we're doing this for fun.
This is a lot of fun. And also money. Anyway.
Start plugging sponsors until someone gives us some money.
Well, we will get to that. We do have some sponsors with us.
I meant real sponsors.
Oh, well. Yeah, that...
I think Stamps.com should be calling any minute now, really, since it is a podcast.
Yeah, that's true. They do sponsor a lot of podcasts.
Squarespace, man. Squarespace, that's where the money's at.
ZipRecruiter. And probably the folks at MeUndies.
And I can talk about something educational for a while. And Great Courses series will be knocking on everyone.
I'll tell you, I got a great sleep last night on my mattress from Helix Mattresses.
They're not paying us yet. Don't say nothing.
There's no sponsorship from them yet. They haven't sent checks.
There's no sponsorship at all, really.
Don't tell people that.
Oh, okay. Well, we got sponsors lining up, beating down the door here.
Yeah. While I was between jobs, I thought, well, since I'm no longer gainfully employed, I thought I would start this podcast again. So here we are.
Self-employed.
So here we are again. That's where we've been.
We've been hanging out.
Yeah, we've been hanging out a lot. Every Thursday.
Every Thursday, we've watched the Stanley Cup together.
We did do that. That was a lot of fun.
We did all kinds of shit.
Who won?
I don't remember.
I believe it was the Ottawa Senators. Didn't they win? No?
Not for a long
Yeah,
time.
Danny Heatley and Jason Spezza.
No, you fell asleep before the game was over. The second overtime, you said, "I'm taking a nap, boys. Wake me up when it's over."
Yeah, that was a good game, wasn't it?
That was the coffee game, really.
Yeah.
That was the only time I've ever been in a bar where like 6 different people stopped drinking like coffee.
That'll help.
Coffee.
I blame Doug for us almost losing that game, by the way.
How's that Doug's fault?
He
Doug
showed up late.
Oh.
We were winning until
Yeah, he was in the
showed
shower.
up. It's okay, Doug. I don't really blame you. We won the cup.
Yeah, that happened.
Well, if they lost, it could have been because some guy didn't wear that jersey that he always wears for every game.
Because my terrible towel wasn't on top of the television. Because the television's done.
That's why the Steelers lost the divisional game, is because I brought the terrible towel in late.
You need to be watching the TV on a good Zenith console. That's how
Those are TVs you can put a terrible towel on top of.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Try to put one on the TV now, you end up driving it over to half the screen.
I put it on the TV stand now just as a...
It
Yeah,
doesn't work. It's not the same.
turns out it doesn't work. We even had super terrible towel power at the AFC Championship last year, where we had 2 terrible towels on the TV screen, and the Penguins game was just starting at about 3 p.m., and I was already...
And what happened?
Jeff Jimerson was waving a terrible towel on the TV screen at the time.
And what happened?
They lost.
It was too much power.
The bums lost.
Losers.
Bunch of losers. Who won? The losers?
Bunch of ham and eggers. Anyway, so we've been hanging out a lot. I've done karaoke for the first time ever. I've never done karaoke before.
Sounded like it.
Yeah.
Oh!
I'm going to edit that out, This is my show. You're supposed to make me look good.
Oh.
You were great.
I'll tell you what. You know what? You really captured the stage there, I must say.
Seriously, since you don't drive, I mean, you should probably consider it because that's where you practice. It's in the car.
We could just drive Lawrence around so we can practice in the car.
You're going to do it when there's no one around. That's the whole thing about doing it in the car is the acoustics are right and there's nobody around. Anyone else is going to be able to hear you unless you're at a stoplight or something.
Actually,
down.
Thursday we had a big Jesus Christ Superstar discussion, and whenever I was driving home, I was like, Lawrence needed to hear this, and I auditioned for the part of Judas in front of Lawrence, and he heard what singing by yourself in the car sounds like.
I heard what would pass as an audition.
And he said I got the part, so...
Yeah, Lawrence is in charge of casting.
To be fair, I didn't hear anybody else, so the only one reading...
Well, how about Doug drives home or something?
Yeah, then I'll have a much fairer idea of who should get the part of Judas Iscariot.
Oh, well, I didn't mean that's for sure.
No, you're a Pontius Pilate. You're a perfect Pontius Pilate. And we should probably get off the topic because not many people know what we're talking about. You, the listener.
No.
There was a long-standing pipe dream, as it were, that somehow, and I have already taken claim to musical director because I would rather conduct the orchestra than have a singing part. There's been a long idea that we would like to stage a independent performance of Jesus Christ Superstar with people who do not know how to sing or act.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I am not involved in that.
You'd be a perfect Herod, but we already cast Herod.
I have technically both sang and acted.
Well, it is Jeff Kirk presents Jesus Christ Superstar, a Jeff Kirk production, and it's relevant now since we are in the Lenten time.
And that's why none of your auditions mean shit, because I'm in charge.
I'm
I'm
the
Judas.
musical director. What does that mean?
Nothing. Music is already made.
Someone's going to conduct the
It's made 40 years ago.
Someone's got to direct the rehearsals.
So, we have done karaoke. I went with John and Jeff to karaoke one weekend. It was fun, It was a lot of fun. Until, who was this fucking guy?
I didn't bother remembering his name.
Yeah, he dedicated a song to his mother-in-law.
The future mother-in-law,
His future
but for all
mother-in-law,
intents and purposes, we'll just his mother-in-law.
Might be his mother-in-law by now, who knows?
So I think you mean it isn't fun until these things happen.
It was fun anyway, but
We were having a good time.
God damn it, this made it better.
So I mean, Lawrence said it was fun until this happened. I'm saying no.
Oh, our producer Henry just passed under the table. Anyway, he dedicated a song to his future mother-in-law, and we thought, oh, how nice is that? Normally, how lame.
What was the song?
I don't know.
Oh, it was a George Michael ballad. It was really, really creepy.
Sappy.
And he was nailing it, too. I mean, he was singing the shit out of that song.
I think I know which one you're talking about, but I can't think of the title.
Uh,
I remember used to be on the radio all the time 25 years ago, and it was...
There's a lot.
I hated it then, and I probably hate it now.
There's a lot of George Michael ballads out there.
It doesn't truly matter other than the fact that, well, he was doing well. And then what was it? He got to the part where he says, I just did that for myself.
And then he told us to fuck
And then
off.
he told us to fuck off. He said, I don't care if you like that or not. I'm doing it for myself. And fuck you.
Does that mean he was rescinding his dedication?
No, I think he was doubling down on his dedication because...
He was definitely telling his mother-in-law to fuck off.
I don't know, but it was weird.
I'm just going to say this. If you're going to karaoke because you think you want to watch a performance of great singers, you're sadly mistaken. You're better off going to a...
Obviously, you've never seen network television where the karaoke is this major thing on the stage, and somehow you win money.
Or the movie Crossroads and not the good Crossroads.
The good crossroads.
I mean, good is a relative term, but
Starring Ralph Macchio.
Exactly, you're suggesting there's a good crossroads out there.
there's a worse and worse, I guess.
Yeah, you won a contest, you became a star.
The one with the better sound, not the one with the better soundtrack.
I'll go that way. That's
The one that Ry Cooder didn't do the soundtrack for.
the one that Ralph Macchio isn't in. But it was incredibly awkward. But when you go to karaoke, I mean, really, I don't know how much fun it is for non-participants because really, you're just waiting for your turn.
That's the way I feel when I do it. I don't care about anybody else singing.
No, because it's not that fun if you're not singing.
Every once in a while, there's someone that's actually good.
Well, Nikos has that. The number one karaoke spot in Pittsburgh.
Then you get some bitch that picks Bohemian Rhapsody. That happened at Nico's.
Oh, God.
This is my first time.
Which is made
I'm
worse than
taking
your
a
first time.
7.5 minute
Yeah.
long song, and she was terrible.
Well, if there's ever a fat girl who's looking to really project her own sexuality, they always sing "I Touch Myself" by
And I still have yet to see that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. So
I was told that. I was told that by somebody, and I didn't believe it. And then a couple of months later, I was at a bar with a friend of mine, and I brought that up, and he didn't believe it either. And then the very next night, that particular friend was not there, and they were doing karaoke. No, maybe he was there and he left early, but shortly after he left, this girl came up. I took a picture of it with my phone, but it was back in the days of flip phones, so I don't really have it anymore. And it was before you could really do video, but I wish I would have had like a decent phone back then. I could have taken a video, and I could have proved to you that after I had already heard this from somebody else, within a couple months I had seen it happen. And now I am a true believer in that phenomenon.
Well, so far I haven't seen it yet.
I've always thought about singing it myself because that is one that I have practiced, and I'm good
Really?
at it. Yes, not for karaoke purposes, just because I like the song.
Well,
Just by
that's what I'm
saying
saying.
karaoke, it's a cliche karaoke. That's why I never
There's
actually
got to
sang
be
it.
a morning after.
And then if you do sing it and you're a man and you sing that song, everybody just thinks you're trying to be funny or something.
It's hack.
It's hack.
It is
If
hack.
you are trying to be funny,
It's like a guy singing "You Ought to Know" or a guy singing
I wanted to sing
"Bitch."
you wanted to know.
the anti-Joey
Or,
Gladstone
What's Up?
song.
Yeah, well,
You're talking about songs that are in my range.
well, you have a very unique range, Jeffrey.
There's
So
no such thing as very unique. It's an incomparable.
An incomparable range.
incomparable. Thanks, Doug, for the grammatical correction. In terms of weird karaoke stories, my favorite one actually occurred. I don't know if you remember this, Doug. We were at it was Halloween night or something like that. It doesn't really matter when.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so we got to witness.
Just to set the stage here.
This is the scene for you.
This is a bar that it was very near and dear to my heart. It's no longer there. There's a bar in the same place, but it's under new ownership. But it used to be a bar that was incredibly mismanaged. But it was our bar. It was a hawker box. It was the kind of bar where you could go in and spit on the floor. No one would bat an eye or think there was.
No one would notice.
No one would notice.
Yeah, there was lots of dank.
It was a very dank place. And for a while, they had the idea that they were going to have karaoke nights there in order to bring in business on the weekend, which is unusual because most bars don't need extra business on the weekend, but this one did.
It was just that terrible.
So they had karaoke,
Which is why we loved it.
about once a month. And the woman who ran the karaoke sort of had a following, and this is a phenomenon I was unaware of. Like I was assumed that okay, this bar has karaoke, you get a karaoke. I didn't realize that there were people out there who apparently have a karaoke DJ or whatever they're called or presenter that they would follow around to the different bars they do karaoke at.
That's a fan club.
Karaoke. Yeah, a
happens
fan
a
club.
lot.
A fan club. I was not aware of this phenomenon until these people who I'd never seen this bar before are all of a sudden packing the place on Saturday nights so they can sing karaoke.
Why there's so many people here? That would be empty.
Yeah.
Isn't this roses?
We have the place to ourselves. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, it was always to ourselves.
It ain't like it used to be. I'll tell you what.
We need to find another failing bar.
Well, I don't know. Would you consider Fun Days a failing bar?
That name shall not be spoken.
Yeah.
Weenie Hut Juniors.
Weenie Hut Juniors.
It's either
I didn't
Weenie
say
Hut
Weenie Hut. I didn't say it as Weenie Hut Juniors because I am afraid of the Goon Squad from Nickelodeon.
Oh, come on.
I just refer to it as the either Old Roses or the bar whose name shall not be spoken because it's so embarrassingly
So
bad.
Weenie Hut Juniors, we can agree on
Weenie
that.
Hut Juniors, we can agree on that. Okay, Doug, so you're at the bar and the fan club shows up and,
Well, you were the one telling the story. I was just sitting the stage.
oh.
And that was the part where I turn it over to you
Yeah.
to continue with the story.
Oh, good.
Go.
Thanks.
Hurry up.
Hurry up.
Oh, we only got.
We got time constraints here. We
We only have 45 minutes here. Hurry up.
got Gorman Owl coming in at 10.
That would be quite an accomplishment for this podcast.
It would be quite accomplishment for any podcast.
Considering he's dead.
All right, so it's been my greatest karaoke moment ever, and I wasn't even performing. And the reason why is because it's gotten late, and people are really gooned up. And so we have two people slow dancing to somebody who's singing. But the guy who's singing has had a stroke. And so what they're slow dancing to is... And that's not an exaggeration. That's actually what it was.
I'm sorry, listeners.
There's
And
also,
they're making out.
Making
They're
out.
slow dancing and making out to... So I wanted to have that played at my wedding, but they didn't have it.
Well, what song?
I think Liz.
I don't remember. It was.
I have to say that karaoke crowd, there was a gentleman who did sing a very good rendition of "Sleep with Me Tonight" by Neil Diamond from his 1984 album "Primitive," which is not one of Neil Diamond's better known songs.
That's not a Neil Diamond song.
But I mean, if you want to talk about some real schlocky 80s soft rock, I mean, you can't really do better than that song. And that guy really nailed it. And a little bit later, a couple weeks later, I was watching a Penguins game when it happened to go over time when the karaoke had started. And he did a version of "Like a Rock" where he sounded like Chris Cornell during the bridge. Really good. But the other thing about that karaoke was that it sort of made it more bearable than the guy who had the stroke, who was there every single time because he was part of that fan club, and he would sing various songs every single time. And he was a nice guy. I had a few conversations with him.
Yeah, and it's hey, Doug, how you doing?
Oh, he didn't know I didn't really know his name. So anyway, this karaoke crew, I guess it was, is that the woman's husband would bring a saxophone and a flute with him.
Oh, you're talking about Vern.
Yeah, Vern, that was his name. Vern. He would bring a saxophone and a flute. He would do a very good job of. He would do Jethro Tull songs and do the flute solos in them. And there was one feature he did. I never caught the name of it, but it was a very good saxophone instrumental that sounded kind of like Harlem Nocturne, or song in a similar vein, or possibly like if the sax part at the beginning of "You Belong to the City" was just interpolated, like extended as to a regular song in the same style. That was very fun to listen to. But
Yes, I usually bring a slide whistle.
She did have a number of props for like a tambourine.
Yeah, but the karaoke fan club isn't always a good thing, though, and the reason why is because we've seen it in, I guess we'll call it AAA ball as far as karaoke goes, because, I mean, Nico's is the major leagues, but the Steel City Steakhouse had a fan club, and let's just say one of us got bumped. Jeff, why don't you have that story for us?
I'm fairly certain I was bumped at the Steel City Steakhouse. The guy definitely had a fan club, and this is proven because I signed up, and some of his fan club members got to sing twice while I was waiting. And so I had a conversation with the gentleman where I asked him what was going on, and he told me that he had 23 people before me, which seemed like an awful lot because there were barely 23 people in the bar at the time.
There weren't.
And he got pretty angry with me. I told him to take me off the list, and I went and sat back down. And as we were sitting there, John and I had some funny lyrics to go with the songs after that, sort of about people being bumped from karaoke and fan clubs and things like that. And the guy took offense to it. He was turning around and giving us dirty looks at first, and then he came over to have a word with us.
We were causing a scene.
We were causing a scene.
We were causing a scene.
He didn't like this. He came over and told us, "I'm the fairest karaoke DJ in this city."
And no, he's not, because I've seen people with rules.
Exactly.
You should have told me he was breaking the karaoke code.
I didn't realize that there was. I didn't realize that one could be more fair.
Well, he claimed to be the fairest one.
I know, but I didn't realize one could be more fair than the other.
It's not. It's a comparable. It's another incomparable, like unique. It's fair. It's either fair or it's unfair. It's not more fair.
To English semantics.
Unless you're that guy, he's the fairest.
That was one of the things that I noticed these things because I read
Because you're really anal.
Well, no, I'm really anal. But you read an article about the history of an expression, then you watch a period piece where it's supposed to take place at a time they use the expression, but it's at a time before the expression was in common use. Like, an example, if you see anything on AMC about a comedian in the 1950s using the word asshole, and there's something in Boardwalk Empire where they wrote asshole on the side of a bathroom stall referring to someone as an asshole as an insult, it kind of like sort of bugs me of how far shows go these days in order to try to maintain a sense of historical accuracy with the costumes and the sets and everything like that. They don't pay attention to the language because asshole is a 1970s expression.
I've noticed a lot of things that shows from like the 70s. Well, they'll have people saying things like, "Are we really doing this right now?" that I don't remember hearing until maybe 10 years ago.
Well, that was the other thing why I talked about it, because you're talking about an incomparable. During Boardwalk Empire, I noticed that Steve Buscemi's character, Nucky Thompson, and I think a couple other characters used the expression "fair enough" in conversation several times, where someone will say something they don't quite agree with, but they have to concede the point anyway, and they'll say "fair enough." So I looked at I look just being as anal as I tend to be. I looked this up on Google Ngrams to see because I don't remember that expression being in common use until a few years ago, and as far as I can tell, the earliest occurrence of that expression in that sense was in 2006. So a show that takes place in the 1920s, saying fair enough, and it's hard to do for an expression like that because you look at some of these old books that were written in the 1920s or beforehand, they say he didn't think the sentence was fair enough or something like that. That's what made me thinking about, does that even really make sense anyway? Because this isn't fair and incomparable.
Wow.
Type of errant pedantry of the English language, and I apologize for that.
I'm probably going to edit most of that out. I'll keep some of the more interesting parts. See, that's great to have the power of editing for these podcasts.
Well, if Doug starts correcting anybody else's grammar, just hit stop.
Oh yeah, I can hit stop, so I'll have 15 different things here.
What about pronunciation? Can I correct that?
No. You can make fun, but not correct.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's very important. We can make fun of each other, but we cannot correct each other.
Correcting's boring.
Yes, the audience will find it pedantic.
The trouble is if you know what the word pedantic means, you're probably within this league of the people who are doing the correcting.
Well, probably. So what else have we done? We went to see comedy during the summer.
I don't know if you could call all of it comedy. We saw two comedians.
We went to the Improv, which is a comedy club.
Allegedly.
Well, they haven't hired me in a long time, so I'm gonna go with your definition of allegedly, because they don't know comedy apparently.
I would bet.
So we went to see. Who did we go to see? We went to see
the Honky Tonk.
The Honky Tonk Man.
The greatest intercontinental champion of all time.
You did that very well.
Thank you.
Mean Gene would be proud.
Well, he is the greatest intercontinental champion of all time. I mean, he was a better intercontinental champion. There's a reason why he held it for as long as he did. I mean, seriously. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, really.
What's wrong with Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
I like Hacksaw Jim Duggan as much as anybody. He's no honky tonk man.
USA.
He was a good intercontinental champion, but he was not the greatest
not the
intercontinental champion.
He never ended anyone's career. So. Possibly. He never snacked a 2x4 broke a 2x4 over Jake the Snake Roberts' head and
made him a drug addict.
And he didn't have sideburns. I don't think he sang either. So
No, he didn't sing.
2 points for Honky Tonk Man.
Honky did sing his own song.
I mean, we saw him. He sang over his own recording.
Get my hair slicked back.
I'm the Honky Tonk Man. He's a Honky Tonk Man.
So yeah, we went to see comedy from the Honky Tonk Man and alleged comedy from his two openers.
Alleged comedy.
Well, we ran with that joke from Jeff. So I have to give him credit.
Oh, good. Sorry I missed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, John had to go take a shit in the yard.
So who do we start with? The guy who was trying or the guy who was just awful in general?
Well, the guy who was trying, he went on first. I can't even remember his name.
They were both trying. It's just
No. Yeah, the guy was kind of trying.
No, but remember the second guy he doesn't care.
He doesn't, I don't
He
care.
doesn't care.
He was
I
one of
mean,
those
for
guys.
everybody, but I don't care.
Well, the first guy said, I have to start out by saying I'm from Manhattan, Kansas. And if that really counts as a joke,
That counts as a joke.
Yeah.
it does, but it was already done in the movie
Like,
Paris, Texas.
Exactly. I was just going to say, it's like when people, I went to Paris, Texas.
Like his comedy was in the form of jokes. He just needed work.
He had the vague form of comedy. He's clearly new. He's clearly never done it. Well, I shouldn't say never. He's clearly not experienced.
Well, the worst part is he had his jokes written already and didn't stop to consider
Whether the audience liked it or not.
Well, not that, but like the environment. So he had this opening joke was he's talking about the bathroom at the place, and man, it's a really big bathroom, isn't it? It's not a big bathroom. It was a small bathroom. But he had already written that. He wrote down big bathroom and went with it.
Well, I mean, stopping to consider your material, that just conjures images in my mind of a guy who has like a bunch of sheets of jokes written on sheets of paper. And he's going, okay, here's one.
I'm consulting my joke book.
I wrote them.
My fifth
They're
grade
mine.
joke book.
His big black book of ethnic jokes.
I think that's what Russell Peters uses.
I haven't heard his stuff, so.
I saw a special. He just does crowd work. But really, he has his bunch of ethnic jokes. That's all he does. And then whatever joke he has next on the list, he looks in the audience for someone of that ethnicity that goes with it and picks them out and says, "Oh, what are you, Cambodian?" And then does a joke about that.
Those Cambodians, I tell you.
So he's a bit like Larry the Cable Guy, except he doesn't have material.
Hey, Larry, the Cable Guy is a
So
genius. Not because of his material, because of his marketing.
His marketing.
He's very good at that.
His material wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad.
Some
I
decent
never really
ones.
seen it.
His persona sort of overshadowed his actual jokes, which weren't as bad as people just
No, his
assumed
jokes
they
were good. He was very good.
That's the genius.
Shut up, Lawrence.
Nobody wanted to see Dan Whitney. They
Because
wanted to
Dan
see
Whitney
when you're Larry the
sucked.
Cable Guy, and he would and talk like that, and
Yeah, but he had well-structured jokes. A lot of misdirection. The exaggeration was well placed. I mean,
I believe you.
He's
I never
funny.
Actually,
Whenever I see pictures of him when
He
he was-
knows his audience.
and he's not one of the greats, but he's funny.
Whenever I see pictures of him as Dan Whitney, I just picture him up on stage going, "So, have you guys ever noticed the thing about
yeah, you're not far off.
I feel like he's taking the Larry the Cable Guy as far as it can go, though, because all he does is just be Larry the Cable Guy now. Doesn't
he
even
had
write.
a TV show. I'm sure there's
He had a show on the History Channel.
exactly. Did he do a movie?
He did several.
Did he really? Yeah. So he was like, then he's just earnest.
I guess after Jim
That's a
Varney,
really.
I guess after Jim Varney died, there was a void that needed to be filled. It was filled by Larry the Cable Guy.
That's a very timely reference, Jeff. I'm sure all of our audience will get it.
Larry the Cable Guy goes to summer camp.
Larry the Cable Guy goes to school. Larry the
You're
Cable
not
Guy
far
doesn't
off
go to
from
the
some
beach.
of the movies that I did see him do, though. You're not that far off.
I've never seen any of the movies.
But I know of them. I've never seen them. There was Larry the Cable Guy Health Inspector, which was very similar.
Oh, you know what I think I've heard. You see it there.
Okay, so we got over the first guy.
So we got over the first guy. The second guy, who we should name.
Yeah, his name is Matt Light, and it's terrible.
Yeah, we want to bury him.
I don't think there's going to be anyone out there who was considering getting tickets to Matt Light, and then
No one gets tickets to Matt Light. People just come across Matt Light, and they should leave as soon as they see it.
Or just
or hear it.
No, they shouldn't leave as soon as they hear it. They should just time their arrival so they make sure that they don't show up until after he's done performing.
Well, what they do is I think they plan to go to the improv. Is that where we're at? The
Yeah,
improv.
Yeah, the improv for the headliner.
Without really, well, even if it's not just for the headliner, it's probably like, hey, let's go to the comedy show, whatever it is, we'll go see
There's
it.
a show. Yeah, there's a show at the Improv all the
So
time.
they'd be
That night
advised
we
if
went
they
there-
go and then they see Matt Light on the marquee or whatever.
And that'd be a very good
They
time to
will
take a
never
dump.
see Matt Light on the marquee.
That's true. They only have the headliner on.
They don't tell you who the
Please welcome to Steel City Hill, Matt Light. I'm going to go take a dump.
Steel City Hill.
Yeah, if he shows up,
I mean, seriously,
you
if
have a
you're
cigarette or
sitting
something.
on the toilet with the seat down and your pants all the way up, looking at
Craigslist.
looking at Craigslist on your phone or something like that, you're going to be more entertained than if you were to actually stay in and watch the stand-up comedy. Even if you were looking at Craigslist on your phone in the stand-up comedy, it's like the opposite of entertainment. It detracts from whatever else you were doing.
Well, we already explained.
It's like trying to get work done around the house with Twilight on TV. You're turning off the show.
Yeah, but we forgot to explain the big reason why he was bad. And Lawrence, and I know that you've expressed this on your previous shows when you didn't have three other guys trying to talk over you,
In the old days, yeah.
especially me. But the one thing that you hate when it comes to stand-up is
I hate plants.
exactly
He had a plant.
He had several plants.
several.
That's right. Yeah,
He had like three.
He had at least two.
He had one main.
He had the main
He
plant.
had the main plant who he could riff off of, and then he had a couple more.
What do? I'm a pianist. You're a pianist? Oh, gold.
Oh man, that's so great!
Ah.
You're so clever. Look who won the
The
pony.
kid was 12. How the hell is he a pianist? It's probably the only person who would agree to do is
My favorite.
fucking bidding.
Well, anyone who actually was a pianist isn't going to say I'm a
They
pianist.
say I play piano.
They're either going to say I play
I'm
piano,
a musician.
or I'm a studio musician, or I play in the orchestra, whatever the hell it is. That isn't. No one ever says pianist.
Except possibly Adrian.
Except us right now.
Possibly Adrian Brody.
It was in that movie, The Piano Player.
Well, here's the thing: it really got me is the headliner of the show was the Honky Tonk Man, as we've mentioned, and wrestling in the old days they used to be very big on kayfabe. Kayfabe the crowd, kayfabe the crowd. Don't let them know it's a show. And this fucking guy's plan, as we were leaving, I don't know if you guys heard it, but as we were leaving, the kid in the Patriots uniform who he was ragging on the whole time.
Yeah, I think that's important to point out, is that this guy is dressed in a lot of Patriots gear.
Yeah.
Because you know how people in Pittsburgh are. They sure do hate those darn Patriots.
Oh, those darn Patriots.
Those darned Patriots.
So if you want to win over a crowd in this town...
Oh, that wouldn't work in this town, I tell you.
And say, oh, look at this guy with all his Patriots gear on. Come on up here. Look at that. Hey, fellas.
So,
Which, to be fair, I wouldn't have noticed if someone was wearing a Patriots jersey if I saw them on the
You know
street.
what?
I wouldn't have cared. I wouldn't have
You
cared.
would think to yourself, oh, that guy likes the Patriots.
If that, I mean, fuck. I mean,
He's allowed.
yeah.
It's like ask yourself, when's the last time you saw someone wearing an Oklahoma State hat?
But the thing was, is as we were leaving, after the show had finished, the kid who he was ragging on the whole time with the Patriots gear, the plant, he's saying to someone else, "Did you like the show? Did you like the show?" We're not even out the door yet, and this motherfucker.
Hey, I was part of it.
He's doing market research.
Did you see me stand there wearing a Patriots sweater?
Did you like the show that we put on that I was part
That's
of?
what you said. The Honky Tonk Man did a very good job.
Unfortunately, I was too far away, but I did hear him. The Honky Tonk Man did do a very good job.
Oh, he was hilarious.
He was the only funny one of the night.
And he was very, very.
He's not even a stand-up comedian.
He's not a stand-up comedian. But you're gonna groan when I say this because you heard me say this a dozen times. But the listeners have not. The guy knows how to tell a story.
He does know how to tell a story.
And oh god,
That's why he does all those shoot interviews.
Yeah, because he's hilarious.
Just did a whole show. It was all Jake the Snake stuff. That's all I wanted to hear was about Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
Jake, you've seen that documentary Beyond the Mat?
Oh, God.
I think it was pretty much all focused on Jake the Snake.
Yeah, most of it was. And a little bit on Mick Foley getting bashed in the head with a chair.
Yeah, Mick Foley's awesome. Jake the Snake is a piece of shit.
Yeah, he takes one blow with a guitar and all of a sudden he has crack problems.
Well,
And it's the Honky Tonk Man's fault.
Well,
At least according to the Honky Tonk Man.
The ones in the documentary was it says on the bottom of the screen they're talking to him, and then there's words on the bottom of the screen. It says at this point Jake left to go buy crack cocaine.
yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember he was... But he's generally, I think, a lot of people would agree, pretty terrible. It's funny because I see on some of the shoot interviews that Honky has done where they ask him about the guitar shot that supposedly made Jake a drug addict. So anyway, we were talking about before our producer interrupted us. We were talking about the Honky Tonk Man and Jake Roberts' drug addiction.
Well, you're talking about the shoot interview where he...
Oh yes, the
Yeah.
shoot interview where he where that's brought up to him continuously. And he made a mention of it, that was the guitar gimmicked? Yes, and he was afraid that the guitar was so gimmicked, when the guys would come and pick it up and play with it, he was afraid it would fall apart. Was it a heavy guitar? Yes. But, he said after the guitar shot, Jake wrestled for another year or 2 years before he even went to rehab.
Maybe he just liked crack.
Yeah, maybe,
Well, he was an alcoholic too.
Yeah, well, a lot of wrestlers were in those days.
I saw a video of him wrestling in some high school gym somewhere, and it's him and this guy who's probably 20 years younger because Jake the Snake, he kept wrestling after he was in the WWF until he was in his 50s, I think.
60s? Yeah.
60s, really? Okay. Well, anyway, he comes out completely trashed. This guy's trying to do wrestling moves on him. Jake the Snake is not participating. These moves require the cooperation of both
All
wrestlers.
parties involved.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's just standing there. Well, this guy's trying to do the moves. And then, so he ends up just kind of pushing him out of the ring, and he gets on the mic and starts yelling about how this guy's a piece of shit, and he's just, a stain on the wrestling community, something like that.
I could see that happening. Sure, that's
Yeah.
like the infamous pay-per-view where
Where
Jake showed up drunk with the snake out and pretended it was his dick and was waving it around.
I think they cut the feed when he started to jerk the snake off.
Yeah, they did. They cut away.
He held it between his legs.
Yeah, it was like he was jerking the snake off, which I'm sure that snake just really enjoyed.
Was it similar to that? What was it when VH1 used to do those top 10 countdowns that were all just completely bogus, but the one was the 100 most shocking moments.
The most shocking moments
Yes.
in rock and roll. Hosted to you by Mark McGrath.
But the one girl who was from that one of those terrible 80s bands that supposedly did that with a sledgehammer.
Oh, Susie Sue.
And that was shocking live.
That was number 100, actually, so...
So it wasn't that shocking.
Yeah, you got to get 100 together. You're going to have to make some allowances.
Were any of these shocking moments things like George Michael trying to proposition somebody in a men's restroom?
I believe that was
I think
that was number 8.
Is that really that shocking, though? I mean, was it really that shocking?
That was a case of entrapment.
So the
Damn
story
it!
About, I can't remember who it was Led Zeppelin. Somebody in Led Zeppelin, or I forget.
It was a Led Zeppelin rumor, actually, what it was.
Who took a shit in somebody's shoes?
I think you're cross-referencing stories here.
You're mixing up your wrestling stories with your rock
Wrestling?
story.
Then
Well,
then who took a shit in somebody's shoes?
well,
That was Najee Davenport, former Steelers running back.
It was quite common for a time in the WWF for people to shit in Jerry Lawler's crown.
That's what it gets for having a crown.
Well, he put it on his head and go, you got it.
The funny thing is Lawler used to run the Memphis territory, and they were notorious for being bad with their payoffs. And he'd burned a lot of those guys who were later in the WWF. And so a lot of them enjoyed taking dumps in his crown.
Where did he put it on? And it was like the Three Stooges where somebody gets mud on their face and they put their hands up like this and wipe their eyes off.
Oh, I wish that was the case. But apparently, like the guys that did it, like Steve Kern and Kurt Hennig and all those guys, apparently they did it to such things that it would have been really a big, healthy dump. So when a great big healthy fucking pile of shit, right? So I'm thinking that probably Jerry knew when he saw it, and in fact, in a shoot interview, the Honky Tonk Man and Raven talked about while they were there at the same time briefly that there was a memo that went around there was to be no more shitting in Lawler's crown. On a pistol letterhead, Vince McMahon signed it.
He took 2 showers and he still put the corn out of his hair.
It's come to the attention of the company that various members have been taking
Dumps in Lawler's crown.
We ask that activity to cease, and we hope that we all comply.
I'd like to see the memo from HR.
Well, I heard that Raven had it, and he was like, "Oh, I did have that memo for years, and I threw it away." He's like, "Why did you throw it away?"
So there was actually a memo.
There was a real memo signed by Vince saying, "No," and I quote, "No more shitting in Lawler's crown."
That's fantastic.
Yes, it is.
Well, to get back to something else that I thought, we were talking about those VH1, those countdown specials.
Oh yeah.
Was I remember the stupidest one I ever saw. It was called the 40 Greatest Hair Metal Bands of All Time. And I thought, you mean
There were 40 good
hair
ones?
metal bands of all
You
time?
mean the 3 that anyone's heard of? And
I believe number 40 was Hanoi Rocks, which shows you
some
how
other
low-
ones that we just decided were hair metal, even though they aren't, like Van Halen or something.
You could put Van Halen in there. Sort of they decided to put like the New York Dolls or Slade or something like that in there. That you're kind of stretching the definition, and you couldn't even come up with 50. You have to put 40.
I didn't realize there were 50 hair metal bands.
There aren't. That's why they only have 40.
Well, the VH1 had a lot of 40 great. There was
No,
a 40 great series.
Well, that was after that because they needed to cover for the fact that they couldn't think of 50 hair metal bands.
Oh no, 40 great. We do it all the time, you know.
Yeah, it was the beginning of a new series.
It was the 40th anniversary of something.
The 40th anniversary of VH1. No. Feels like that channel's been on for 40 years.
What do they even have on there anymore?
I don't know. I don't even know if they're a channel anymore.
They just went, I love the 80s over and over again.
I love the 80s.
Oh, I hated those
I
shows.
know they play music videos by people like Bruce Hornsby, Phil Collins, Billy Joel.
Young up-and-comers.
When was the last time you watched VH1?
Probably since the 40 greatest hair metal bands of all time.
That was the last time.
In all seriousness, I think I was watching Ghostbusters on there, and I quit watching it because there were they would show 5 minutes of the movie followed by 15 minutes of the same commercials over and over again.
Which version of Ghostbusters was it? The new version or
The good one.
The first
The good
one.
one.
The first one. Yeah, I wouldn't watch the new one.
A lot of people would agree with you. They wouldn't watch that one.
I didn't see it.
Would you see it?
Probably not.
I thought not.
I mean, they have a fat black woman, and she's sassy.
Well,
Oh, shut up. Leslie Jones is funny.
Leslie Jones is funny.
Yeah, she's funny.
I don't know who she is. I just know she.
Yeah, because you just make assumptions and look at her.
Well, I'm just saying that the whole premise that they have these women who are taking the roles of men, so they're breaking down these barriers.
Yeah, but they
That
never
was the
really
whole
pay attention to the
idea.
fact that the writing
But
was
then
bad.
they just use the character, the cliche sassy black woman.
Yeah, she was the only one that wasn't a scientist, just like in the original movie, which people complained about for years afterwards.
Hudson was just or not Hudson.
He was a cab driver or something.
Winston
yeah.
was just a
Yeah, he
he just wanted the job. That's
Yeah.
all he wanted.
Yeah,
He wanted a job, and he showed up because
I like what you guys are doing, so I want to be a part of it. And they said, all right.
But Ghostbusters 2 does have a deep truth in there that no one really brings up. And it's the fact that
It's a nice lesson about being nicer to each other.
well, no, I'm not talking about that.
No, of course not.
I'm talking about one of the more subtle things about it, which is
Slime reacts to Jackie Wilson.
Dun, 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 dun.
no, not that. That wasn't slime. That was the ectoplasm, whatever it was, the plasma.
It was
the
that
pink slime.
It was pink slime.
It was
yeah.
pink slime.
Yeah.
That was been 20
River
years
of
since
slime.
I'm getting you off your point. I'm sorry.
It was the hatred of New York City.
Right.
It was the negative attitude.
Personified in slime.
Yeah. No, the truth that they touched upon was that if the four of us here were to dress up in reflective vests and hard hats and boots and carry clipboards and pull up in a white pickup truck, we could just remove the stop sign on the corner, and if even a cop went by, don't say anything. It just looks like you're supposed to be there. Especially now, we're recording this on a Saturday night. You think I want to be this is where I want to be on a Saturday night?
No, you want to be pulling out a stop sign.
All right, we're going live to the stop sign on the corner of somebody's house. It's not mine, for sure.
So I think
My house doesn't have corners.
no, it's just in the middle of nowhere.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You don't
That's
know
where we
it
are
is.
right
You
now.
could probably dig up the road without reflective vests.
We're at the undisclosed
Good.
location.
The undisclosed location, and it's only undisclosed because I continually forget which town you're in.
We'll keep it that way.
Anyway,
We're gonna break now to go put in
Yeah,
a
we're gonna-
speed bump.
speaking of a break, we're going to have an ad break here. So with that, I'm going to flip it over to our sponsors.
Hi folks, this is Larry Deldino of Deldino Kitchen and Bath. I once heard an old joke about a woman who's jealous of her next door neighbor's kitchen, but it wasn't that funny. And neither is your old Formica countertop with that stick-on vinyl granite colored veneer, or your pink and blue bathroom tile with toilet and tub to match. At Deldino Kitchen and Bath, we won't stick anything on your countertops. We only use genuine granite textured laminate that looks almost like the real thing at almost half the cost. We use authentic Amish-made cabinets for the pictures in our brochures. We also offer discount appliance replacement with our guarantee that the scratch or dent will be facing a wall. And for your outdated bathroom, our specialists can perform a complete modernization. First, our certified artisan tile setters will save you money by busting up the original tile and arranging the pieces into an artistic mosaic pattern. Then, our master plumber will refurbish your commode so handle jiggling will be a thing of the past. We'll also put a brick in the tank so it uses less water. And for the finishing touch, we'll scrape those little pink flowers off the bottom of the tub. So for all your kitchen and bath renovation needs, visit our website at www.larry-deldino-kitchen-bath.biz. And for a 4% discount, use promo code HeyDino.
And we're back with the Lawrence Watson Show. I want to thank our sponsor, Larry Deldino. Be sure to go to his website.
And we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back.
Anyway, so there's a Pens game on tonight right now in the living room of the Kirk household.
They're winning
Yeah,
right now
right now.
with 9:17 left in the second period.
You guys are big hockey fans.
Indeed.
Indeed.
I don't know if fan is the correct word. More of an enthusiast.
That's great, Doug.
I was used to hearing that.
Really. So you guys are both hockey enthusiasts, fans, whatever you may want to call yourselves.
Actually, I'm more of a supporter.
I'm going to stab you with this pen in a minute.
Well wisher.
We don't wish the Penguins any specific harm.
I like them more than I like any other NHL team. We'll only go that far.
Now I'm totally off the point I was going to make.
You guys, okay, let me use it. You guys are Pens fans.
You guys are Pens fans. I'm a Pens fan.
Indeed.
While we were gone on our extended break,
I'm not really a fan. I just have a lot of shirts.
while we were on our extended break, as we mentioned before at the opening, we watched the Stanley Cup Finals together at Roy's, another one of our bars that we no longer hang out at.
Sorry.
It's all John's fault.
It is.
John's scared of the pagans.
We won't go too deep into that discussion tonight. I think that's a topic for another time.
You're going to fix that in editing, right?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, we have Henry fix that.
So how would you say the team looks this year specifically? They did start out in a bit of a hole.
They were doing exactly what I wanted them to do, which was dog it. Take a few games off. Take half the season off.
They're just resting.
Just resting.
They're skating
saving it
around,
up.
just dogging
Lay
it.
back a little. Rest on the laurels.
Enjoy yourself. Just have fun out there. Now they're getting down to business, and right now they're winning.
And no one used the H word either.
The hell was that?
Hangover.
Well, whenever
Thanks a
you
lot,
win,
Doug.
whenever you win your second in a row, the word hangover really just kind of goes out the window.
I guess that's true. I have my own theory about why they weren't doing as well. Well, more specifically, why Murray wasn't doing as well.
Can you keep it under 800 words?
Yes.
Because his dad was about to die.
That's what it was. Obviously, have the greatest condolences to the Murray family, but hopefully, this is a point where
Really put the brakes on things.
Matt
We really jumped off a cliff here.
Let's just start over again after the
Let's
after
start
the
over.
break thing.
So anyway, welcome back.
Welcome back.
And we're back. We were talking briefly, but that has been all edited out, so you will never ever have to hear it. Unfortunately, I had to, and that was enough for me. We decided it wasn't that interesting. So we're talking about the Pens. We were talking about the Pens a little bit. I like Pittsburgh sports. You all like Pittsburgh sports. Those of you listening, I presume some of you like Pittsburgh sports. There's a Penguins game on right now, as a matter of fact.
That is correct.
The Penguins are winning right now, last we checked.
For your kitchen and bath needs.
All right, so we really lost a lot of our momentum there when we stopped. So anyway, you guys like the Penguins, and we had a bit of a slow start this season, but we're on a hot streak right now. And Jeff, I remember you telling me one time that you didn't care if they tanked half the season. That was okay by you.
Of course it is. They just need to make the playoffs. And then see what happens after that.
Well, Bill Simmons has a theory that he calls the 5-year grace period, where he says that after your team wins a championship, there's a 5-year period where you can't complain about anything the team does: coaching, player, personnel decisions, the quality of play. He says if you win a championship, you can't do that. And I agree with that. I agree with it whenever my teams had not won championships within the past 5 years, and now that they have, I feel that I need to abide by that agreement. So I'm not going to complain about anything. If they're going to lose all their games for the rest of the season, I will not complain.
I disagree. I find it completely unacceptable if they don't win the championship every year.
I would have been.
So you're a Steelers fan, you're saying?
Exactly. Just like I find it unacceptable when they don't get a first down in every play.
But yeah,
that Rob Gronkowski guy. That Patriot.
yeah, they lost.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
And it was wonderful. That was the third best Super Bowl ever watched.
It was a good game.
Yeah, and
Most Super Bowls suck.
that's true. A lot of them do
The
so.
last two, even though the Patriots won last year, it was still a really good game.
Well, no, it wasn't a really good game. It was a really good last 10 minutes of the game.
Last 10 minutes.
It was only a good game if you look at it objectively. No,
it wasn't a good game if you look at it objectively. Objectively, it looked like it looked like a blowout by the Falcons for most of the game. It wasn't until
Right, that's exactly. But
it was a good game towards the end. When the
But
Patriots
what I'm saying is objective terms, it's the only Super Bowl that ever went to overtime. It is the largest comeback in Super Bowl history. But if you actually watched it, oh God, it wasn't that great of a game.
It wasn't that great of a game.
I thought it was a good game. I liked it.
I mean, you liked it because you don't like the Patriots, and the Falcons were winning for most of the game, and then your general football.
What you had was
After
you had
the
one
game. I still decided that I liked the game. I still thought it was a good game.
What I'm saying
I
is
enjoyed
that
watching the game, even when the Patriots were.
Even though the Patriots won, you
when they
enjoyed
came
the
back.
game.
Well, no. What I'm saying
still
is,
thought it was a good
what
game.
I'm saying is in general, when we talk about the difference between what makes a good football game and a bad football game, a good football game is a close game with a lot of scoring.
Yeah, yeah.
changes.
A lot of back and
Last
forth.
year's Super Bowl was not that kind of game. That game
no,
was
it
all
started-
Falcons for the first 3 quarters.
Exactly. And
You-
it
you
started out as a blowout. A blowout is a bad game.
Yeah.
It's just not fun to watch.
You had one blowout followed by another blowout, and that just
Right,
both
yeah.
happened to take place
But
in the same game.
When it starts as a blowout, then okay, that part of the game is not that fun to watch. But when it starts getting to that point where it's not going to be a blowout anymore and tides change, then it turns into a good game.
I don't think just because it's the greatest comeback ever makes it a good
To
game.
be fair, Super Bowl 40 was a close game, and that was a shit game to watch.
That game was
Yeah,
terrible.
That's a good point.
That was an awful game.
Super Bowl 43.
Super Bowl 43 was a great game.
That was a great game.
Yeah,
The one we just watched was a great game.
A close game would be nothing. That would
There's
be
a lot of other
a really bad game.
there's a lot of other Patriots Super Bowls that ended up being great games. Both Super Bowl with the Giants, especially the 42 with the helmet catch.
Yeah,
That was a
the infamous one.
Super
read
Bowl
a quote.
36 with when the Patriots won their first Super Bowl against the heavily favored St. Louis Rams. That was a great game. But
Most of the Patriots Super Bowls were great games. That Super Bowl against the Panthers was a great game,
that was a great game.
despite the wardrobe malfunction.
Wasn't that the Eagles they were playing that game?
No, that was the.
That was the Carolina Panthers,
Carolina
in
Panthers.
Houston with the Janet Jackson Justin
Yeah,
Timberlake wardrobe malfunction, which
I didn't watch that game.
which
so
I missed.
Yeah, I didn't.
I
missed it
watched
too.
the whole game. I missed the wardrobe malfunction
I
because
don't think I was watching because I never watched halftime really.
well, we lived in the same house at the time, and I don't recall you watching. Now, I remember somebody invited me over to his house to watch the game, and I just said no.
Interestingly enough, I watched all of that Super Bowl except for the halftime show because I was like, I don't want to see Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson. That's not my kind of music. I'll, I don't know, go get a beer or something like that now.
So we all missed.
Well, you know what I was doing? I was practicing my horn. Got to practice half hour a day, so this would be a good time to go practice. I came back, and then all of a sudden, everybody's apologizing,
Remember what I was
Sorry,
and I missed it.
Remember what I was doing during Super Bowl 30? I was playing Batman on Nintendo.
We were watching that game. I remember that game too.
We were young. We were like 7 years old. We were
Yeah.
allowed to stay up to watch the game because the Steelers are playing.
Yeah.
I didn't watch 1 minute of it.
But he was still allowed to stay up.
I was 7 years old. I didn't care about football. I wanted to play Batman on Nintendo, and to this day, I have not gotten as far in that game as I did that night.
Well, if you go on YouTube, there's a guy who beats it in like 10 minutes. So.
Well,
You can find everybody being everything
Yeah,
in
but
10 minutes.
professional video game player.
Yeah, there's all those.
I was
those
7.
like that.
7-year-old Jeff.
Just wanted to
Steelers
play Batman.
lost. Jeff didn't care. I just woke up expecting them to lose anyway because that's what they just kind of did in
And I was
those days.
sitting on the living room floor on my knees like you do. playing
You know,
Batman.
if I tried to sit like that now, my legs would go to sleep. I wouldn't be able to stand up for the next 6 weeks.
Lawrence Washer Show was on hiatus after one episode.
After one episode, he sat on his knees.
Lawrence playing Batman, trying to recreate Jeff's personal record.
Lawrence is now in a wheelchair.
It's pronounced wheelchair.
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 You guys were Nintendo guys, right? I didn't have a Nintendo.
We were Nintendo. We were a Nintendo family.
Yeah, really.
A Nintendo family.
When you think about it, we didn't have Super Nintendo. We just had Nintendo.
You just had regular Nintendo?
When Dad bought the Nintendo in 1992, he decided that we would never get another video game system again.
Never again.
That was it.
And that one was used. I found that out like a year ago that it was used.
I
think we did you a new one.
It was pretty obvious.
He
that
didn't
it
even
was
get a new
new.
Nintendo.
Considering it didn't come in the original box, I knew it was used at the time.
We're like 5 years old. I don't remember.
Yeah, we got a lot of shit though. That kind of distracted from the fact that we had the gun, we had the power pad, we had more games than.
You have the Power Glove.
No, we didn't have the power. Nobody had the power glove.
The Power Glove was one of the most overrated features. I had a friend who had it, and it was terrible.
It wasn't
Well,
of
overrated.
course it
Nobody
was
thinks
terrible.
It wasn't overrated. It was just bad.
Yeah.
Well, it was overrated in the sense that people who didn't have it thought it was like a cool thing to have, and then you go to someone's house who has it, it's like, this is just a really awkward controller.
This is a piece of shit and I can't use it.
The commercials gave you the impression that it was some
High
sort of virtual
expectations.
reality thing where you'd be able to like pull your figure like you're firing a trigger and shoot the guy.
All I know is if you experienced video game players use the power glove in Mike Tyson's Punch Out, and they lose the glass Joe immediately.
Yeah, wasn't that the angry video game nerd did that?
Yeah, exactly.
You just push the button.
How do you lose the glass Joe? You can't.
I don't know. I didn't have Nintendo. I had
Oh,
a
shit.
You can set
Lawrence.
the controller down.
That's the only way to lose the Glass Joe.
It's the only way to lose the Glass Joe. If you're actually
not actually
trying
press any buttons.
if you're actually trying, you can beat Glass Joe. I mean, 1992 Christmas Day, one of us beat Glass Joe.
I'm sure.
It's probably me.
Sure, you
'cause
both
I'm,
probably did.
I'm the best Mike Tyson's Punch-Out player out of all of us.
Did you
but
really have to be the best to beat Glass Joe, though?
I'm second best.
I have beat Mike Tyson's Punch-Out 3 separate times.
The whole game.
What's
The whole game.
What's Glass Joe's record then?
0-49.
3-49 tonight.
No, he's 0.
You're spotting him some losses.
17-year-old little Mac is going to make quick business of him.
I remember when I turned 17 and I thought, damn it, why am I not a boxer?
So you guys were a Nintendo family.
Right.
I had a Genesis. I must have been the only one.
Oh, you were the enemy. Boo. Boo.
It wasn't the enemy. It was just what my parents bought.
Well, let me just say we grew up we had a babysitter, but there was at least 2 of them, and they were Sega kids. And they would just, every day, it would be, you know what, Sega's better, Sonic.
Sega has 16 bits. Nintendo only has 8.
They weren't even the arguments weren't that sophisticated.
Really?
It was just Sega's better. And we'd say, no, we're not, Nintendo's better.
That was why Sonic the Hedgehog is better than Mario, like a moronically detailed argument structure that's like.
But I mean,
And
bring
not
up
even,
how,
like- and it
Mario
was-
can fly and can breathe underwater, and the argument's over.
Well, that's just unrealistic.
Yeah,
Sonic has bubbles, so you have to-
Yeah, and Sonic gets hit and he drops all his shit.
That's true. He did.
You never saw Mario get hit and then like drop a fire flower or anything.
Well, actually, he kind of did.
Well, he would lose it.
Don't they all, though?
But you also have the stuff you get from the mushroom huts, and the little bar under the screen.
Oh, all
he
this
never
shit.
drops that
And your
stuff.
coins.
Coins. He didn't drop any coins.
Yeah.
So Sonic sucks and he's clumsy and can't hold on.
Yeah, but he's fast.
But he is fast.
And he likes chili dogs.
Fast.
I always enjoyed. I could never get past the first level of Sonic the Hedgehog, so I don't know. But I did always enjoy the
Never
Green
got
Hill
the-
Zone.
I could get past that one, but then the chemical plant was always tough.
That's Sonic 2.
That was Sonic 2.
That was Sonic 2 with Chemical Plant.
Yeah, you're
We were a
confusing. your
Nintendo
Sonics.
family. I don't know any of this.
Yeah, we're Nintendo. I don't know how it worked. The C button? What the hell is this?
3 buttons. That's just ridiculous. Press 1 with your thumb.
Well, really, I
One with the
mean,
middle of your thumb.
my,
There's only 2 parts to the thumb that can press a button.
my mother would say, "Well, with an Atari, all you need is one thumb. You need one button and a joystick."
Yeah, those games sucked.
No, not necessarily.
I was a pretty good Missile Command player, but
Pitfall was good.
So now that we've gotten off on topic on video games,
We haven't gotten past the Penguins' score, which we don't even know at this point.
Yeah, we never did go back to that.
Here you are, all this palaver.
So John, go check on the score.
I'll be back.
Okay. As John goes to check on the Penguins score, there's a lot of dead air here.
there was a lot. There was a lot of dead air.
We could go to another commercial.
We just had a commercial.
No,
We
we just
did
had
just
a
have a
commercial. We'll sit down.
So what is the score?
We'll talk about. I don't know.
Oh, you didn't
it's
look?
It's at a commercial. I looked.
Oh.
Right now, it's at the sedation dentistry.
Oh, that's always fun.
All right,
What is,
so
what is the one that Bruno Sammartino always goes to?
Wayne the Train DiBartolo.
Yes, you have to come to my dentist. I'm the greatest pitchman in Pittsburgh.
He'll knock your teeth out better than I can. Oh wait, we're not supposed to say that.
So was Bruno Sammartino shilling for a dentist for free cleanings?
I don't think he has any teeth left.
I'm sure he has dentures by now.
He's about 1,000. I mean,
Get a good gum scrub.
There's no hair left.
all right. So
He
here
didn't have any
we.
hair left when he was still wrestling.
No, he had hair when he was wrestling.
That was
He
wrestling.
was balding.
Back when it was still called studio wrestling.
Studio wrestling.
All right, so we've been jabbering about Pittsburgh sports and gotten
Video
off topic
games.
twice, and video games. Which keep it, Henry.
It's-
Henry, why don't you keep it?
It's very hard to stay on topic sometimes when you're having a conversation.
All right, but the one thing that I thought was worth mentioning, and I don't know if the rest, especially Doug. I don't know if you listened to.
Oh God, we're calling Doug out again.
or read about David Freeze's most recent comments about Pittsburgh Pirates management / ownership / players / culture / whatever.
Yes, I have. It was in the paper today.
And since you're the most really,
You're the only baseball fan among us.
Yeah, you're the only one who knows anything about this stuff.
yeah, and I think this is a nice time to open it up
The
for,
only true baseball fan among us, anyway. I should say.
to Doug to give his interpretation or what the hell he thinks, because really, as far as I'm concerned, just the Pirates are just not letting any nickel roll away.
Good
Keep it
for
in the
them.
black,
They
keep it in the
have
black.
A business model that works. It's profitable.
That nobody likes.
That nobody likes.
It's called the fuck you, you'll still show up business model.
It's called
And that's
it's called
why the
financial
fans are
flexibility.
stupid. It's not
Financial flexibility.
It's
financial
not Bob Dunning's
flexibility.
fault that the fans are dumb and they keep spending their money when they're unhappy with the team. If
Fucking
you're not
marks.
happy with the team, don't watch the games.
You're all rubes.
They're
You're
all
fucking
rubes.
marks.
Just saw the board spike a little bit. Sorry about that.
It's all
Just
right.
quit watching. Of course, then what happens is they just move the team somewhere else.
Well, they're not going to move the team anywhere else, but it's entirely too profitable here. No, I think David Freese is exactly right. I think that Josh Harrison is exactly right. I think that this team has not shown any dedication to fielding a winning team. Whenever you look at the reasons why these trades were made, because the idea generally is that they think that, well, this guy he's a very good player, like specifically for McCutchen. The Cole trade didn't bother me as much. I could have forgiven the Cole trade. The McCutchen trade I can't forgive. With him, you have a guy who's the face of the team, and you say, okay, this guy's on pace to make like $25 million a year in free agency. We can't afford to pay him that. So what do? Do we let his contract run out and then get nothing? Or do we trade him and get something while we can? The problem with that logic is that whenever you think we're going to dump a superstar for prospects, in baseball, those prospects are not guaranteed. Look at all the prospects that they have gotten for various guys. Can you name anyone who was acquired in a salary dump? Look who they had in the 1995 salary dump, or 96, whatever year that was, that they had their 5-year plan. You get guys like Tony Womack, who ended up not being a horrible player, and a bunch of guys no one can even remember these days. I mean, or another guy who was in the news recently, Esteban Loaiza. I mean, those are the kind of guys you get up and you say, well, we have all these prospects. Well, there's a good chance that 0% of those prospects are going to be the kind of major leaguers that are going to be able to support a core.
I think the point is they don't care.
But Doug, I think you're forgetting one very important thing, and that is financial flexibility.
If you want financial flexibility, keep McCutchen for another year and then let him go after that, and don't re-sign him. Look at these advanced statistics; they show that players who are in a contract year play better. I'd rather have 1 year of good Andrew McCutchen than 5 years of whatever tin cans they got from in a trade. I mean, if you're going to get if you're going to trade him for prospects, make sure that those are some top tier franchise prospects that you have a reasonable expectation you're going to be able to build a team around in the future. Those are the kind of guys they get.
But they
get
didn't
the
even
kind
do
of
that.
guys who are like, this is the 32nd best prospect in the San Francisco Giants organization. Maybe it was 16th best. Unless it's a top 5 or better top 1 or 2 guy, you're better off keeping McCutchen.
Well, I think really what it is
they don't
whatever.
care.
Yeah, they don't care. Whatever is cheaper, whatever you can put on for cheap.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying this is just the evidence that they don't care. Because if they care, they'd at least keep Andrew McCutchen. We don't want to pay the guy, what's he make, $16 million a year, $18 million a year?
Something like that.
We don't want to pay $18 million a year because we're not going to be able to pay him $18 million in the next year. We're not going to have him for. And what kind of logic is that? It's complete
But
bullshit.
it's not even like they couldn't pay
If
him
you didn't
that.
want to pay him $18 a year, then why did you sign that contract to begin with? Just sign a bunch of tin cans, sign a bunch of minor leaguers. You can get guys up there. You can play for the league minimum, and
I'll play for the league minimum.
Just look at people showing up too.
yeah, I'll play for the league minimum too. And I'll play for less than the league minimum, and they'll probably lose. They can lose with me instead. They'll lose
I'll
with
play
these
for the
guys.
league minimum.
Yeah, we
I'll
could all make
just
a lot of money playing
a
for
bunch
league
of
minimum.
money in sponsorship deals.
Why not just trade Derek Bell now? Because he's trade Marte. He's probably worth something. You can get a guy who can play for a lot less. There's this assumption that as long as they put up a team that at the end of the season has a chance of finishing over 400, that's going to be enough to get people, and provided you have enough bobblehead nights and fireworks.
Give away some towels.
That's exactly the thing. Is like they're making their money and they don't care.
It's not even that. I mean, it's not even that they couldn't afford to pay Andrew McCutchen what they would have had to have paid him. It's not even that. It's just, we're cheap. Bob Nutting right now, he has an offer. It's a multi-million-dollar offer for a newspaper. Just some random newspaper that went bankrupt.
That he's buying the newspaper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
His company has like a.
Did he already have a newspaper?
Yeah, it's going to be added to it. He has. Yeah, it's like a.
He already has a newspaper.
Well, yeah, but I mean, fuck. I mean, it's like, here's a guy who's putting a multi-million-dollar offer in
Because he's a
on a
businessman.
failing newspaper. This newspaper failed It went into bankruptcy, and he's putting a multi-million-dollar offer on the table for it. But that same money that he couldn't go to paying Andrew McCutcheon, he needed that newspaper more. That everybody's going to buy that newspaper.
Something tells me he wasn't giving up Andrew McCutcheon so he could buy the newspaper. I'm pretty sure he has enough money that he could give Andrew McCutcheon and the newspaper.
Well, yeah, of course.
Well, he has enough, but
Isn't
why?
he like the 8th richest donor in baseball, something like that?
He's in the middle.
Even in the middle.
Well, right, even in the middle. But here's the thing that kind of chaps my ass about this is, years ago, even before they were good, it was I think it was Frank Connolly, president of the Pirates, was the one who said, well, if the fan base believes in what we're doing, which means buys tickets,
Come on.
which they did, and then we will reinvest in the team.
Yeah, sure.
And then, okay, so you have 3 years where actually 1 year where they went out and paid people, and then 2 more years where they just kind of said, oh, okay, and then 98-win season, and okay, so the fans are showing up because the team is good.
Of course.
Imagine that. And what did they do? They decided they didn't want to pay J. Happ. They decided they didn't want to pay anybody else. They just let the team fall apart, and we're back where we used to be.
Because they figured out that if they have a good team, they sell out games and all that stuff, they can actually make more money by having a shitty team, and even if less people come, they'll get more money out of it.
Like I said,
and that's why Bob Nutting is a genius.
Well, the thing is, I don't even blame them for those kinds of moves. I didn't blame them for not re-signing J.A. Happ because J.A. Happ had been the kind of player who you expect the Pirates to normally have until he was on the Pirates. He had a third or 2/3 of a season that were good. Everything else before that, he was a guy who was pitching ERA of 4.5 or something like that. He was a race series reclamation project. And even though he was very good with the Pirates, I can understand where you say, well, there's a thing called regression to the mean, where for what the Blue Jays ended up paying him, there was no reason he was worth that. I don't blame them for not re-signing Neil Walker because, to be honest, at that time they didn't really need Neil Walker because they had a full infield. They were struggling to get guys in as it was, and if you can, I don't think they.
So how long are you going to rationalize every move they make besides McCutcheon?
I'm not. I'm saying I'm not trying to rationalize.
Who'd they get to be competitive in the meantime? These guys were performing poorly, according to your logic. And so who'd they get?
Well, which guys did they get?
Okay, so Neil Walker, you said. Who'd they get to replace J. Happ? No one.
They didn't get anyone, but the point is that if you have a guy, who's been in the league for 5 years, whatever he was, he's never had an ERA below 4, and then you get him as a mid-season trade, who turns into a reclamation project and is pitching well, and the Toronto Blue Jays offer to pay this guy $18 million a year. Are you really going to pay $18 million a year for a guy who because he was good for a third of a season or 2/3?
Okay, so they didn't. So what they do instead to be competitive?
That's not what they do instead.
Well, they didn't do anything.
They didn't do anything. Exactly.
But there isn't necessarily another option. There isn't necessarily, unless you're willing to back a Brinks truck up and pay a guy.
Nothing we can do. Nothing we can do. We tried. We tried. Nothing we can do.
There's another option. What you do is you
sell the team.
No. You get a pitcher who just got out of prison who doesn't.
I see where you're going with this.
Who doesn't want to wear his glasses?
The whole audience saw where he was going with this.
My point with this argument is not that
you're an apologist.
Well, just suppose this for a minute.
No, you're an apologist.
Well, hang on.
Just fine.
Just
hang on.
This
hang
for a
on.
minute before you just hurl these
Before we yell at Doug.
You're wrong. Here's 4 reasons why.
How many times in the past have we seen a situation where there would be a guy like J.A. Happ who the Pirates would sign to a big contract and wouldn't pan out?
Well, they don't sign a big contract, so we don't know.
Well, okay.
What, Matt Morris? No, we're not going to do that because that was Dave Littlefield and the guy didn't know what he was doing, and that was more of those, see, we're paying people kind of moves.
Exactly, and they would have said, if they would have said, see, we're paying people to J.A. Happ, and J.A. Happ would have come back and had an ERA of 5.5, and they would have been traded by the
Too many ifs in that sentence, Doug. Too many ifs.
They could just pay the shitty players they have now more money, and then they could say, hey, look, we're paying people.
Yeah, we're paying
right, but they had somebody who was competent, and they let him walk, and you're saying the money wasn't worth it, and we'll take that argument for what exactly it is. And what they do to replace that sort of competency was, we'll wait.
You know what this team needs is
nothing.
Then which free agent do you think they should have signed for that season?
I'm not here to offer specifics.
But this is the point that annoys me because there's always an assumption that they could have signed someone else for a comparable price or someone good. And the truth is that in Major League Baseball, when it comes to these pitchers, unless you're willing to really fork out the kind of money that, in all honesty, the Pittsburgh Pirates can't afford to pay. Unless you're willing to pay a guy $25 million a year.
I mean, how do you know they can't afford to pay?
Because teams with similar revenue streams are not paying as many guys.
What the Kansas City Royals, they went out and actually did that.
Yeah, they went out and actually did that, but they
won a World Series.
You're talking about in the aggregate. You're not talking about going out and getting one single guy who is a borderline player. Or
they got several guys
Who did they get? Which big contract did the Kansas City Royals sign? They let go of Zach Greinke before they won the World Series.
It's John and I's share of first glance.
You know what? They're doing everything they can. They're doing everything they can, and God
this
bless
is
them.
what annoys
I'll
me
be
is
there
that
every
people
night.
make these blanket statements who don't know anything about baseball. They point to these teams. Oh, the Kansas City Royals did it. Well, really, how do they do it? Which guys are they paying, and how much are they paying them? Because you don't know.
Of course you don't know. I'm not a Kansas City Royals fan.
Exactly. But they're trying.
Well, the Yankees.
They're not just dumping everybody and going, we just missed it.
The Yankees bought how many World Series?
Well, the Yankees
Everybody
is
gets
different.
mad at them and says, "Oh, they just bottle. They pay all their players all that money and all that shit." But they get mad when the Pirates don't do it.
Well, this iteration of the Yankees isn't quite like that.
No, ever since Steinbrenner died, it's been a lot.
It's been a lot more of the homegrown. Like the Astros, who just won, was one of those.
Steinbrenner's still alive. I saw he's on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
The younger Steinbrenner.
Whoosh.
All right, whoosh. Yeah.
Right over everybody's head. I just started watching that show recently, though. You and Alex are my friend, another one of their relatives, because I just hang out with one family.
Yeah, we're gonna bleep that name out.
But Alex doesn't want to be mentioned.
I don't know. Well, let's not.
But anyway, Alex.
I'll be on. I don't care.
Anyway, you and he, Jeff, convinced me to start watching that show because I hadn't seen it when it was on. I mean, I knew about it and all, but it's quite funny. So far, my favorite episode so far of the ones I've seen is the funeral for Cheryl's aunt that died.
The misprint in the newspaper.
Yeah, the misprint in the newspaper where he comes home and he's just stunned. He's like, departed sister, beloved cunt.
Yeah.
Who would write beloved cunt? Why would I write beloved cunt?
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Well, when they're asking them to do it, and they say, "Oh, you're not going to try and be funny or something, are you?"
But yeah, that is a really good show.
Of course it is. Great.
I'm gonna have to continue binge watching that.
Yes,
I
you
finished
will.
the first season, so
Nice. You have 8 more.
8 more. 8 more. Oh God, help me.
Yeah, what else you got to do?
Well, this podcast. Other than that, I'm pretty free.
You're doing it now, so.
Yeah. I'm not binge watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. I also have other shows that I need to binge watch.
Yeah. Unemployment sounds great, except for the
Except for the part where I don't
part
get
where you
paid.
Don't get money.
Yes, please subscribe.
Please subscribe so I can please have some money to continue binge watching Curb Your Enthusiasm using my Amazon Prime membership. Thank you.
We don't need you to listen. We just need you to subscribe.
Well, yeah, subscribe and play it in the background. You don't even have to listen. I know, Gary, you like to listen. Adam, you like to listen.
Oh, yeah, we
Rod?
should probably have a special thanks to our listener.
Yes, our listener, Gary. Our listener. Well, I assume all of you guys are going to listen to this podcast after it's published.
I don't listen to my own work. I don't. It's in the can.
You don't have to
I
listen
forget
to it.
about
Put it on mute and just let it stream.
We'd like to thank
All of our listener.
We'd like to thank our single listener,
Well, here's the thing. Okay, Lawrence mentioned Gary.
Yeah.
Jeff, you know Gary?
Yeah.
our friend Gary.
And he's the only one that's ever publicly stated that he listens to the show regularly.
Well, there were a couple others. Adam did. I
remember-
want to thank you, Adam.
Yeah, we'll thank Adam and Coach Rod.
Yes, Rod.
Let's hope that all these people are taste makers.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Coach Rod definitely.
Coach Rod. Yeah. Well, Coach Rod did ask me what the topic was of the podcast, and I told him we don't know yet because we
It's
didn't.
not we don't know yet. We knew exactly there was no topic.
Well, there was no straight topic. I mean, it's not like this is one of those wrestling podcasts that I listen to regularly or a true crime podcast like you guys talk about sometime at Weenie Hut Juniors.
You got juniors.
Juniors.
Copyright police are coming.
Yeah. Oh, we're in trouble. Oh, I'm going to have to fix it in editing. Henry! Henry, can I keep that in? Let me know. Uh-huh.
Oh, you're good lord.
Okay, great.
You have to talk to standards and practices about that.
We got a lot of guys working on our behalf.
Yeah,
but-
we're definitely
Okay, so for Gary and Adam and Coach Rod, tell your friends, tell your relatives, tell your loved ones. Just subscribe and then fast forward to the end.
Don't forget to like and share.
Yes, like, share, subscribe, comment.
Like, share, subscribe,
Thoughts and
comment.
prayers.
Click on our sponsors. Go to our sponsor, Larry Daldino's website.
Especially after Jeff's racially charged remarks earlier in the podcast. Oh, wait.
You're supposed to mention that
Henry
as
dumped it.
Yeah, Henry told us we could not have any kind of racial comedy on the show.
Unfortunately, we didn't mention Trump at all in this podcast, so it means that no one's going to listen to it at all.
Well, that's okay. We can talk about Trump now.
All right. It's exactly what it is when it comes to Trump.
Well,
Yeah,
those of you
say things like, he looks like a cheetah.
Those of you who listen know that I have held for a long time great disdain, not just for Donald Trump, but for the Republican Party as a whole.
As a
and that
whole.
includes my relatives.
But now you actually have a newfound appreciation for the Republican Party when it comes to the classics.
Well, you know, it's a lot of people, and I didn't want to get totally off on this, but this is a subject that I want to bring up
It's your goddamn show. Go ahead.
well, I mean, not a lot of people care is the point, but a lot of things that I see online say,
I don't care.
It's my goddamn house. Shut up.
well, that's another one.
Shut up.
We've had, 4 now? 5?
I don't know.
I don't know. We've lost count. So we were meant to count how many times we told each other to shut up. Anyway.
I think those are all mine, actually.
Well, yeah, but
It's your show.
well, I did briefly tell Doug to stop. So anyway, the whole Trump thing, right? And you mentioned a renewed appreciation for the Republican Party.
Yeah, the classics.
The classics, like George W.
Yeah, Arnold
It's-
Schwarzenegger.
Well,
No, he's
well,
not
he
a
was.
Republican.
He's not really. Well,
But neither is Trump, really.
Yeah, but-
He just you push him in one direction, he'll just go there.
I'm more of a Benjamin Harrison man myself.
really, he didn't win re-election either. So-
If he was a president, you could set your watch to. I would have voted for him if I had been alive, been born 130 years earlier.
really,
I voted populist in the last election.
populist.
That's right.
So you voted for Trump? No, but anyway, to the brief point I wanted to make before we go off is you mentioned that I have a new appreciation for the classics.
Exactly.
Now online, I see a lot of times people say the meme, not just the Obama meme where "miss me yet," or they go to the W meme, "Oh, miss me yet?" No, I don't miss you. I fucking hated you. You were terrible. Just because you are subjectively less terrible than the current commander-in-chief doesn't mean I like you more. It just means you're still terrible, but slightly less terrible.
I did hear some poll yesterday that like George W. Bush now has like a 70%
Yeah,
approval
yeah.
rating.
It's like 50-some% among Democrats. I guess absence really does make the heart grow fonder. But yeah, I did want to get that off my chest because it was bothering me.
Well, I'm glad you had your own platform to do it.
Of course.
And why'd you wait so long? This is your damn show.
Well, goddamn, I didn't want to start off the.
Did you say this for episode 2?
Well, I think the problem
Actually, this is episode 0. So
This is episode 0. This is
episode
round-
0. Test cast.
Well, if you start off with a subject like politics, then that just becomes
Yeah, nobody
the
wants to
whole
hear that.
show.
Well, because
and
when
then that's your first show after a while.
Ugh.
Now it's a politics podcast,
oh god, not this shit
and
again.
then you have to have like a picture of yourself wearing a suit and tie.
Or like you with like your regular clothes going,
not-
what's going on? I don't understand it.
Wearing a suit and tie is not easy for someone like me, given my Orson Welles like physique.
Yes, you're quite corpulent.
Well, I propose that if we do change the podcast to a political podcast, I think we need
We're
to
not going to.
It was for you and Doug. I'm going to go home.
Yeah, we did one show. We're changing formats.
The numbers are in. Gary hated it.
Let's do a new.
We have a 0 share.
We do one podcast a year because you do one and then retool it for a while.
Yeah.
Gary didn't like it.
Gary, did you like the podcast? Did you like this version of the podcast? Was this? We could, if we really wanted to appeal to Gary, we could definitely talk more science stuff. But I'm illiterate.
Yeah, we'll just have Gary on.
We could have Gary on someday.
A very small test market.
Very, very small.
Gary, Coach Rod,
Infinitesimally small.
No, well, what I was going to say is, whenever I think of it, if we did change it to a politics podcast, it would have to be. We have to do video. We have to film it in the kind of studio that has some chairs arranged in a semicircle. And we have to sit there in suits, smoking cigars. It has to be sort of like a.
Can we have like a black sheet for a background, kind of like a Charlie Rose almost?
No, I'm thinking like firing line, like a blue sheet, and then we have to have someone like with a William F. Buckley type demeanor to be the moderator, so you can speak in that good like. Old style, just American aristocrat accent.
Doug, just do it, please.
No, I think
I can't do that accent.
You can't do it?
No, I can't do it.
We have a few provisos.
Okay,
There we go. That's it.
I think what you should do instead is, instead of your semicircle idea, have one really, really long table. And then each person sits at the opposite end. You're debating and you're yelling, but not because you're mad at each other, just because you have to so they can hear it.
Todd, can I finish? Todd, can I finish?
I don't think that would work. But
Well, I think it would pick up
Well,
on the
I think-
microphones like screaming.
Well, I think if the way that America consumes news media these days is
By
all it is
streaming,
just
yeah.
everybody talking over each other. So why don't we just do that?
no, because it
Because
has
it's-
to be like firing line. It has
Yeah, I
to
think we should, yeah.
Can I make my point?
it has to be like William F. Buckley. Like
No,
Donald J.
no,
Trump
no.
has said recently that
Donald
the
Trump.
firing of White House aid due to domestic disturbances is
Domestic violence.
domestic violence.
Domestic violence. That he has said that he is against.
Yeah, you do. It.
Can you make me a little bit more smarmy?
It's very hard. It's very hard.
It's a very difficult accent. to
It
do.
is not easy.
I mean, you're doing the William F. Buckley, but you could also do like the George Plimpton or the Gore Vidal because those are the same.
Yes,
Upper New England, like aristocrat.
the affected fake British accent that you normally. I can't do
I
it.
went to a New England boarding school.
I grew up in Boston. The Charles Emerson Winchester.
Yeah, that's it. Catherine Hepburn.
Gary, do you get that reference?
Yeah, well,
Are we
hopefully.
just doing this for Gary? Why don't you just send Gary like a flash drive?
You know, we weren't doing this for Gary, but now it's become a running gag. Of this
we
episode.
are appreciating our listener, though.
We do appreciate all of our
We should
listeners.
just tape it and then send that to Gary.
In fact, if you want us to give you a shout out on a future episode of the
Give us money!
Thank you, John. If you do want a shout out on the future episode of the Lawrence Watson Show, please send a check or money order
to LawrenceWatsonShow.com/Larry Del.
/ Hey Dino.
No one's gonna give you any money unless you're giving away like tote bags or something.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that I could find a way.
You gotta.
Imagine the Patreon patrons like,
Yeah.
if you give us $5 a month, you'll get the show 12 hours before everybody else does.
Yeah.
Gotta give up
And
some
then you can
merch.
see the behind the scenes, all the stuff that's edited. You get that.
you get the whole show,
Everything that's in us sitting around.
all the
waiting-
crap. We've had
Sitting
a
around
little bit of-
drinking beer, watching the hockey game until.
Well, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. We could
Speaking
do,
of which, I'm gonna check on the score.
okay, you can check on the scores.
And
We
you
can
can
do
you can do a YouTube Q&A type show where we just answer questions, and then if you're a patron, then you're guaranteed to have your question answered.
So if you're a patron, yeah, but
But kind of like the unspoken rule is that everyone gets their question answered because not that many people are going to send in
yeah,
questions.
not that many people are even going to listen to this. I don't.
So if you have a
think.
question for a future episode, don't forget to write it in the comments because we will
Yes.
definitely tackle that issue. If you want to see something if you want to, or something you want us to discuss on a future episode.
Or how about this? What you can offer is some behind the scenes stuff, like we said before. Except all it is just the mic check we did.
Yeah, we spent about 20 minutes setting up the mics and stuff.
Oh, by the way, the game is once in commercial, and our producer is sleeping.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
Is he sleeping in a circle?
Oh yeah. Want to go see?
In a little bit.
In a little bit, we will as soon as we wrap up here.
Oh hell yeah! This has been fun.
This has been great. So, those of you, if you want to hear your topic discussed on a future episode,
Gary, what do you want us to talk about?
Coach Rod, we can talk about algebra next time.
Yeah, you
you
know-
know what? Let's just have Gary and Coach Rod in, but we only have 2 mics, so you two
yeah,
are gonna have
there
to
really
go.
are only 2 mics. I bought 2 microphones for free. That was my Christmas present. My birthday. Well, actually, the mics were a birthday present, so
But these are 2 more mics than we used to have.
that's true. And that was part of the reason why we had a lost episode was that we didn't have any mics. And
We all crowd around a laptop going, yeah. So
We were all crowding, and you could only hear Doug and myself, occasionally John, and you could not hear Jeff at all. But in this episode, you can hear Jeff, and I think that's wonderful, because Jeff is a very interesting fellow who has a lot to say. Isn't that right, Jeff?
Sure.
I set him up perfectly for that. So anyway, if you have a topic you want us to discuss on a future episode of the Lawrence Watson Show, those of you who listen, let me know in the comments below on the Facebook page or on YouTube, wherever you're listening to it.
Or Lawrence's personal Facebook page.
Or my personal
which is
Facebook page.
Totally open for
everything. Anybody can friend me on Facebook.
The link will be posted there. We all know that.
Or you can bother John, Jeff, and Doug.
No, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Actually, you should also say, give them the option of not leaving comments. That way, you won't be disappointed when inevitably there's going to be no comments.
Of course, yeah. I know our audience. I'm familiar with a previous incarnation of the show where I asked for comments and never got any.
Oh, by the way, we have an open invitation for Gary and Coach Rod.
If you guys want to come on the show, we'll be more than happy to host you.
And don't think that the show is going to just always include all four of us, because
no, probably not.
The Lawrence Watson Show, the most important thing is actually Lawrence Watson.
How about that? I am the most important aspect of my show. Who would have thought? But we will be back more often together as a panel, I think. More than once every 6 months.
Every Saturday my wife works anyway.
Well, yeah, I mean, but we could record 2, 3, 4 episodes, have them in the can, set all up to go. But I know that everybody wouldn't like that, and my schedule, who knows? Who knows when I'll put the shows out? Maybe once a week, maybe once a month. Who knows? We'll find
You
out.
could just split this one in half.
Why not?
It's what, 2 hours at this point?
Well, we've got
podcasts are only an hour long.
Well, yeah.
Well, actually, no, the target was 2 hours, so I think
the target was
right.
2 hours, so we're right. We're actually about probably about an hour 45 in, but I think we've got it.
All right, do you want to record the beginning for the split?
We have about 7 minutes of usable material.
I'm here with.
So anyway, I had a great time recording this brand new episode. First one back. Great panel episode.
New format, new set, new equipment, new Lawrence.
Well, definitely new equipment. I want to thank our sponsor, Larry Deldino of Deldino Heating and Cooling, was it? No. Deldino Kitchen and Bath. Well, I want to thank our sponsor, Larry Deldino of Deldino Kitchen and Bath, for supporting us. I want to thank you for supporting us, whether it's on Patreon or YouTube. And I want to thank my panel for being here. So, guys, I really enjoyed recording this podcast with you. I had a great time. I hope you have a great time listening. I will see you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.